Oh,
Well, hello, folks. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower. And we're here today with Ashley to talk about elementals, earth spirits. Folks, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. We're here to talk about all of those kind of things. And we've been having some real technology issues. So Ashley says it's normal for her. So, Ashley, let's just start off with the question that probably everybody has on their mind. How do we even know that elementals are even real?
you just know. How did the storms get created and stuff? There's something behind that other than just science. They were here to protect the earth, basically. That's why we have the big storms that wipe out, that aren't man-made, the natural, like, disasters that just happen. It's how the earth works and protects herself.
So do you think that the people that are saying that a lot of these storms are man-made are incorrect?
No, I think most of the storms that we have now are man-made. Most of the weather we have is not natural weather anymore, not even just the rain.
Really?
That's what I believe.
Okay.
You you can really tell the difference if you're paying attention. You can tell the difference between the man-made weather and the natural weather.
And how do you think the elemental spirits come in with creating weather? You think they just actually straight up create the weather?
I'm not really sure if they just straight up create it themselves. I think everything all kind of works together.
Okay. So you don't think they're just like, and I know I was listening to the other day and you say the word fairies is considered almost a little bit derogatory by them. Is that correct?
Yeah, fairies don't like to be called fairies.
And do you know why?
Insulting because that's not really what they are. That's
Okay.
just a name that we gave them.
How do they feel about Tinkerbell?
Tinkerbell is just a tinker fairy. There is other fairies that are like that, but they don't look as pretty as she does. They're not nice looking.
So a Tinkerbell fairy is actually a thing?
Yeah, it's a tinker fairy. They just go around and like collect odds and ends, that stuff that you wouldn't even really notice.
Interesting. Now, I heard you yesterday or one of the days say that a good way to get a relationship with, what do you call them? Do you call them the Fae? You call them elementals? What do you call them?
I wouldn't, well, in your mind, I guess you can call them fairies because that's what you know them as, and so they're gonna understand your intention. But if you're actually like meditating and speaking to them, I would just call them neighbor or not even address them with a name and just
Really? Okay.
be quiet and listen to them. Because they'll tell you what you can call them or not call them.
And you talked about leaving gifts out for them, like what you said, sugar and.
Yeah, sugar, honey, like candies. You can like braid ribbons together and put like beads on them. Anything shiny, really. Old jewelry. If you're missing like pieces of earrings and stuff, you can give them the one that you have, and just little stuff like that.
And how do you know, and I'm just asking the questions, how do you know that you're not just leaving gifts for like raccoons and stray cats and stuff like that?
Well, my fairy garden where I live is in my house.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, but people do put them outside, and I guess you don't really know. And I'm assuming animals probably will take that stuff too,
That's
but
true.
they don't actually take the objects. Like they just take the energy from the objects. So, like it will still be there every time you go and look. It's not just going to magically disappear. But if you were to like say leave a candy out and then go and eat it right the next day, you're going to taste the difference. Like you can feel that the energy from the candy is no longer there.
Interesting. Now, somebody in the chat room is asking, what exactly are the elementals?
Well, that depends on your point of view. I even researched it and just straight up put in what are the elementals, and all that I can come up with is just that they're different types of fairies. There are elemental fairies, and that just means that they can only work with the one element. So if you have a fire fairy, it can only do fire. It can't do water, earth, or air. But to me, the elementals are actually just the spirits of the elements themselves.
Gotcha. Now, Deborah says that she feeds them sweet milk.
Yeah. Milk, I heard, can actually give them like tummy aches and stuff, and they prefer cream.
Oh, that's right. I remember you saying give them cream, not milk.
But that's like, it's everybody has their own opinion. So it's like half the people say it doesn't matter, and the other half say don't do it.
Okay. And do fairies actually come inside? I think if you have a fairy garden inside, then you say, of course they do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Lyndon was saying that he's had stuff kind of disappear often temporarily. Could that be the work of the?
Yes.
So they're a bit mischievous, are they?
Oh yeah, they love jokes.
They love jokes. Okay.
Yeah. They're like children. They're like really old children in their like mindset. So they like the jokes and to be funny and stuff, but they're not like stupid by any means. They are very old.
Gotcha. Now, when you hear of tales from, I'm from Ireland, not directly, but my ancestry is, and you hear about the leprechauns, would they qualify as an elemental?
Yeah, they're earth. Well, yeah, they're elemental fairies because they only work with the earth element.
Okay. But some of the lore says that vicious.
So, yeah, they are. They're not nice. They guard the rainbows that, like, okay, if you look at the picture of, like, the Norse religion and they show all the rainbows and stuff, like, those are the things that leprechauns are protecting. So, yes, they are not nice. But you can still work with them. You just must be very respectful.
Okay. And somebody's asking, what type of a form do they appear in? Do they appear in like a shadow form or a dark color?
You won't see them until you really work with them a long time. Like most of the stuff, you don't really see them. You just see kind of like sparkles out of the corner of your eye, or you can sense that they're there. Sometimes they will put images like in your third eye of what they look like, but that's usually based upon what you think that they look like too.
Got. Don't really have a physical form?
A lot of them are just energy.
Okay.
Even if they were to come in just physical form, you would just see like mist of colorful energy.
I gotcha. And I have seen some like pictures on the internet that looks like, there's something there, but you can't really tell what it is. Do you think any of those are probably legit, or are most of them just fake?
I've seen some that look like they can be really real. It's hard to say, really, because you never know. Anything can be faked these days, right?
Yeah. Deborah sees neon green sprite thingies. Have you ever mentioned anything or seen anything like that?
Yeah. They are. Most of the sprites are green because they're like earth too, right?
Okay, so a sprite would be like a earth spirit?
And yeah, and like flowers kind of too.
Okay.
So, yeah. A sprite is it would kind of look like Tinkerbell as well.
Okay, gotcha.
But their faces are like older looking, not as cute.
Interesting. Now, Lee is saying that the jinn are also elementals. Would you agree with that?
Probably. I don't really know if they're elementals. I classify the jinn as they're on their own. Like,
yeah, I thought the jinn were plasma beings, so I don't know if I would qualify. I don't know if I would put them in along with the elementals myself.
Yeah, I always just like I know they make like the genies and stuff like, but no, I classify them. They're completely separate. They have their own rules.
I would agree with you on that. And Seven Serpents, or who was it? Was talking about? Are we talking about shadow forms, a hat man? We're not talking about that.
Oh no, those things are bad.
Those are not elementals whatsoever. Those are not elementals. And of course, Lyndon says, do they sometimes grab just one sock from the dryer?
Probably. I'm missing lots of socks always. So
one of the great mysteries of life, where does that other sock go? Now here's an interesting statement. Somebody says, Anna says that she heard that if you see a fairy And the fairy asks you to go with them, that you should not go with them.
You don't go with them. No. If they mean you no harm, they come into your space and they will not try to bring you other places. If something is trying to bring you somewhere else, it's gonna trap you somewhere. Like, no, you don't go with anything, no matter what it is.
So even if you have a cute, friendly looking little fairy and they wanted you to follow.
You kind of cut out on mine, so all I got was cute little fairy, and they wanted you to follow them.
You would not.
No. Anything that appears to you cute is usually not of your best interest.
That's a really good statement right there, and a really good rule to follow. If anything of a spiritual nature comes to you and wants you to go with it, you should not go.
No. Anything.
Anything. That includes all of your astral stuff, your spirit guides, whatever. Do not go with them. So from what I'm hearing you say, that there can be some, I mean, all elementals aren't nice. Some of them are mean.
Most of them are mean. We haven't been very nice to them, so they're not going to treat us very nice.
I was going to ask you why they're mean to us.
Because we helped enslave them and trap them. They're trapped here just the same as we are.
I heard you say that the other day. Talk about that. How did you said that we helped enslave them? Did you say to the reptilians and then we got enslaved ourselves?
We allowed them to come into this planet, and we basically destroyed Fairyland. We cut off their wings, everything. We were not nice, and we're destroying the planet. And then basically right as soon as they were all contained, everything was good, we got the tables turned on us. So yeah, they're not gonna be very nice at first. You have to prove to them why they should be nice to you.
Very, very interesting. Now, where are you getting that information from, that we helped them be enslaved?
Some books, some information from myself, just from everywhere. I research lots of things, and it's really, really hard to find what happened before. It's really hard. There's a lot of information that they don't want people to find.
Yeah, Lyndon, Lyndon asked, what are the huge 8-foot shadowy figures hanging around bedrooms when people wake up? That's something completely different from elementals, Lyndon. That sounds to me like a shadow man. And, sometimes it could, there's a few different things that it could be, but that's definitely not elementals. Now, you also were talking the other day, Ashley, about that we should probably be calling them elves.
They were originally elves in the olden days, when our ancestors actually were able to see them, and it went into Fairyland and they came here and stuff. That is what they called them. But they're not the elves like the Lord of the Rings. Not those. Those are what the reptilians actually look like the race thingies from Stargate or whatever. I have pictures of what they actually Well, this is from Brian Froud's book.
Now, this is what who look like?
What they actually really look like.
What elementals look like, or what?
Fairies and
okay,
what
excellent.
They call the elves, and I don't know. You see, they're not you can see how they get the elf by.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're not super cute like Tinkerbell.
No, not even. No, if anything comes to you looking like that, it's not real. It's just projecting an image to you.
And probably because it means you harm.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how many different classes of them would you say there are, Ashley?
How many different classes of people are there?
Okay.
There's lots.
So you got fairies, elves, sprites. What have I heard people say? Salamanders. Sylphs.
Yeah, those are all just different classifications of they're all elves, but there's different types of them. Just we're all humans, but there's different types of humans.
Okay, so there'd be different races of them?
Yeah, basically, yeah, because everything has a job, right? So they're going to look more suited towards what their job is.
I'm sorry to chuckle, but Someone comes in the chat room and says, "This is unbiblical."
Very. But they talk about them in there.
You know, it's funny that this is unbiblical. I mean, anyway, we'll just leave that alone. We'll just leave that alone. And she's gonna unsubscribe. Okay.
Really?
Well,
because of fairies?
Yeah, well, like they say on like when Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp were leaving Tombstone, and you know the was it Curly Bill Brocious? He said, "We're leaving," and he says, "Well, bye." That's what I say. If you're gonna unsubscribe over that, well, bye. Don't let the door hit you where the Lord split you. But anyway, why would we want to work with elementals, Ashley?
Well, I have my reasons why I work with them, but in the case, like when I commented on your one video about using them to help with the storms and stuff that are man-made and stuff, you don't have to have a personal relationship with those things, I think, because they're destroying like their planet too. But they can't just go and help. They need us to ask them to help. They can't interfere. Like,
oh, really?
You need to ask. Like if you
Sorry,
want.
I had a coughing fit, and I'm just wondering how long could that person have listened, and that's the first time they've heard anything unbiblical. Usually, they have to listen maybe 5 minutes. They're going to hear something unbiblical. So you're telling me that hey Jen, how are you? So you're telling me that the spirits can they help with storms that are not man-made, or will they?
No, because that is them. They're doing like those storms are happening because Gaia wants them to happen. The man-made storms is what are like destroying the planet, and nobody wants those to happen.
Okay. Every storm that's destructive is man-made?
No. Not every storm that's destructive is man-made. Like Mother Nature makes very destructive storms as well.
How can we tell the difference, Ashley, in your opinion?
Well, I can feel it, to be honest. I can feel it, but
Okay.
I know everybody's going to be different. That's where you got to kind of work on yourself and figure out your own way.
The Irma that just happened. Could you feel that was man-made?
That was man-made. That was man-made. That was totally man-made.
Okay. So we could have had help from the elementals on that storm if we'd asked.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Because they don't want their world destroyed either, just as much as we don't want our world destroyed. So if we're all coming together trying to get a storm, like a man-made storm, to stop, and we invite their presence in, I would assume that, yeah, they're not going to care if you have a personal relationship with them and stuff, because it's for like the good of everybody, right? It's
right.
better for everybody. So they will work. There's even some jinn that will work with us as well and would help like stop do that stuff too, because not everything is bad of like one category and stuff. And their world is here as well. So like there's lots of things that you could call to help stop all that stuff, because they want all that stuff gone too.
Right. But I mean, I understand some people aren't, of the opinion that this is the Earth helping to wipe out the virus of humanity that's destroying it.
Oh, they will. Like, yeah, that will happen. But if the virus of humanity is the one creating the storms, how is that the Earth wiping the virus out?
Oh, that's true, because we're going back to the idea that it is created by man. Interesting. I'm not sure where I come down on all that. I know there's a lot out there that, oh yeah, oops, it is. See, something just knocked over my lamp. How funny is that? I don't think I did it, or there's no cat back there, but at any rate, weird stuff happening in relation to this. And this, why would whoever not want this type of information coming out?
Well, because if you call in spirits that are greater than them, like we're even greater than the parasites that are controlling us. That's why they work so hard to keep us down. Like, but you bring in other spirits that know fully that they are greater than them. All they need is just for us to ask for them to come. Like, yeah, they're not going to want that because then they're going to stop them and they're not going to be able to complete whatever it is they're trying to do.
I agree with that. Do you think that children will see the elementals?
Oh, I think children can like see them completely exactly how they are. And then as they grow up and they get told whatever by their parents and whatever by the school and the other kids, they grow out of it because then they have to snap into just only this reality, right?
Yeah, and do you believe that the children see them as they are in their true form?
Yeah.
And they're not scared of them, even though they look kind of scary to us?
No, I wouldn't think so. Maybe some, but I wouldn't think so because you still get like a feeling. If something means you harm, you can still have that feeling to warn you like away from it, right?
Right, right.
If you're seeing something that's scary, but you're getting like feelings of nothing but love or happiness and stuff, right? Are you really going to be that scared of it? Even some of the scariest looking people are actually the nicest people you'll ever meet, right? Like,
That's very true. That's very true. And oh darn, I just had a good question and I forgot it now. Oh, it'll come back to me. If we wanted to try to cultivate relationships with the elementals to try to help be a part of healing the planet and correcting as much as we can the wrong that mankind has done, do you think they would be open to entertaining that type of a relationship?
absolutely, because it's for their better good too.
Gotcha.
Like everybody should work together.
Do elementals ever want to become human?
No, no. They're not made from the same like source as we are. They were created right by like Earth itself, like by Gaia herself, for the purpose of the Earth, not by whatever created us. They're separate.
Gotcha.
They're like the jinn too. They're separate from us. They're on their own like program.
Right, I can see that. And another thing I'm thinking about is, let's say that you're a person that wants to grow flowers, or you want to grow vegetables or something like that. Should you try to seek out and understand who the elemental spirits are for the things that you're trying to
Well,
grow?
help your flowers grow like bigger and prettier and better. If you're growing vegetables and stuff, they'll make your vegetables better. Like, yeah.
Is there any
That's
danger of inviting them in and having them do mischievous things to your flowers or vegetables?
if you make them mad, yeah.
So what do I do to make sure I don't make them mad, Ashley?
Well, like I even said in my other video, basically treat them how you would treat your grandmother, assuming that everybody treats their grandmother how I treat mine. Like, and like you wouldn't swear, you're gonna, be on your best behavior. Like,
Oh, so they want you to be polite.
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, they're just like us. You're not gonna walk down the street and be like, "Hey, F you," and expect that person to be like, "Oh, hi, let's have a hug," Like, it's not gonna be
Would
like
you
that.
smoke around them?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
I don't like that.
Interesting. So they're kind of a little bit prim and proper, right?
Yeah. Basically anything that is gonna hurt the planet, you're not gonna want to do if you're working with them.
And someone in the chat room, Deborah, just said that you wouldn't want to use chemicals on
No.
what you're trying to grow if they want you to, if you want their help.
If you bring the fairies in, then you shouldn't need the chemicals and stuff because they'll protect that, and you shouldn't need any of the extra stuff because that's what you're asking the fairies to do anyways.
So you're telling me if I wanted to grow some tomatoes,
Mm-hmm.
and I brought in, asked the fairies to come in and help me, that I probably wouldn't need to put insecticide and all that stuff on it.
And if you're gonna use it, I'd use like natural like stuff because if you're putting chemicals on it, then the fairies aren't gonna touch it because then it's been like tampered with. It's not natural anymore.
Now, is there any ways that, I don't know, do we need to be careful of hurting the fairies or killing them?
Well, if we're not careful of everything that we do, eventually we're going to hurt everything, not just them. We're going to hurt ourselves too.
Right, but there's not any precautions that we need specifically to take to make sure we don't kill fairies.
Well, don't throw your garbage on the ground, stop smoking, like stop your cars, stop the factories, like everything.
Also,
That's
stop
like, you know what I
everything
mean?
that's
Like there's
hurting
not,
them.
yeah, basically, because we've already gone so far that I'm pretty sure there's nothing you can really do to make it worse.
I gotcha.
Look how bad it is.
So Ashley, if somebody's sitting down here saying, you know what, I really feel that I want to work with the fairies, I really want to work with the elementals, what's a good way for someone to start doing that?
Ask them.
What do you mean, ask them?
Just in your brain, ask them. Tell them that you're ready to make a relationship with the fairies and go from there. It's going to be very slow. They're not just going to come right to you because they don't like us. You're going to have to keep asking, and it might even take years. Like, that's why they put in movies where sometimes you see this crazy old lady that's kind of like half in our world, half in fairyland and stuff, and it's taken her until she's like 90 years old before they finally come and like take her and stuff, because that's how long she had to work and prove herself that she is for their good, not for their bad.
Now, you've mentioned a couple times fairyland.
Oh, you just cut out on mine. Fairyland.
What do you mean by fairyland? You've mentioned that a couple times.
Fairyland is where they are all the time. It runs like we're in the Matrix. We have different dimensions and stuff, and it runs congruent with ours. Like, say our dimension runs this way, then theirs would run kind of like that way. And so sometimes in some places they intersect, where fairyland and Earth or like our land is in the same spot, but and everything moves so fast. It's where we are, we just can't see it, basically.
So basically fairyland is another dimension or another frequency?
Yes, another frequency. Yes, that's what I was looking for.
And we can learn to get into that frequency if we really want to and try hard enough.
What they don't tell you this, but that is what the sole purpose of like the sun gazing and stuff is. Because if you look at it at the certain times that you're supposed to sun gaze and stuff, if you look through your left eye, and you're supposed to be able to see glimpses of like fairyland and stuff.
Well, I sun gaze every day, so I should start looking for this stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now why do you think that is it just overlap when we happen to get glimpses of them, or are they actually trying to be seen by us?
No, I think it's just overlap. I think that's just one of the ways that humans can see fairyland without even like really having to meditate and stuff. If you just look and really try and look, like sometimes you will catch glimpses of it.
Gotcha. Now, I think I know the answer to this, but do dogs and cats see them?
Yeah. The dogs and cats they're like the shaman. They're half in our world, half in the spirit world. They see everything. That's why you get the dogs that bark randomly, or the cats going crazy, running up your walls and stuff, trying to get stuff that you don't see, because they can see it and they're trying to protect your home. Well, they're trying to warn you and tell you, so you go and protect your home. Just most humans are stupid and they don't do it. So then the animals do it for them.
Well, how do the fairies feel about the dogs and cats?
They love them. They like children. They like animals. Like, they're all part of the world.
So even though the animals are like chasing them around and trying to like them?
Oh, I don't think the animals will like chase the fairies around. They'll chase like the bad spirits around and try and get them out of your house. But they can see the fairies and stuff. And sometimes the fairies will like walk up and just like smack them. And that's when you get a dog like just randomly like lifting his head up, like what just happened, but nothing happened and stuff. Like, yeah.
So again, they're kind of mischievous, right?
Yeah, they're just like children.
Gotcha. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because sometimes I swear I look at my cat and it looks like he's being petted, but he's acting just like he acts when he's being petted, but there's nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah, animals are rude. Because they can see way more than we can. And plus, like, all their senses, they can sense stuff that's happening like 2 blocks way down. And you have no idea. Like,
Yeah. Would the fairies ever come to you first?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think they would? What kind of instances would they
Because
start coming to you
because
first?
you already have soul attachments to them. You've already in another past life been working with them, and they're coming to you to just kind of give you that part of your awakening to like make you remember.
So they sort of recognize you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They know who you are. If you worked with them before, they're gonna know where you are.
So they have a lot longer lifespans than we do, it sounds like.
Yeah. Okay, I think fairies can die. I think it just takes like thousands and thousands of years, but I think like the spirits of like the elemental spirits of the elements, I don't think those die.
Gotcha. Now, there was a good question.
Oh, you just cut out again.
Can you use elementals to help send intention?
Depends on how good your relationship is.
Gotcha.
Because if you're trying to get them to send like bad intentions and stuff, not that it can't be done. It's just you better have a really good relationship with them if you expect them to do something like that. But if it's just like someone's sick and like say your mom's sick or something and you wanted them to send her like a little boost of energy or something to make her feel a little bit better, I wouldn't see why they wouldn't do that.
Gotcha. Now, what if someone, I shouldn't even say this, but if someone was a not so nice person, do you think they could cultivate a relationship with like a leprechaun or something to do some nefarious bidding?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. If you're the relationship's not just one way. If you're asking them to do something, you better be prepared to do something for them, and you better make sure you do it how they want it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're going to end up with a whole bunch of problems.
It's just like going with the Cosa Nostra. They're going to ask you to do a little piece of work for them too at some point.
Exactly, exactly.
Wow, that is very, very interesting. So Anna says, is it okay to interact with fairies, but just don't go with them? Would you say that's a correct statement?
Yeah. Usually, most things shouldn't ask you to go with them, anyways. Most things won't. You're supposed to sit, set your circle, set your intention, and then you welcome the energies to you. And like they're not supposed to be trying to lure you off because you really can't go with them because you're not
Right.
holding them. So if you are going with them, then you're gonna be trapped.
Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And DJ Ransom says, have empathy for everything and watch the universe become available to you.
Exactly.
Very interesting. Do you think that ETs ever get mistaken for elementals or vice versa?
Yeah. Yeah, because they're creepy looking, like, yeah, so of course, if you're sleeping and then you randomly wake up and see a bunch of creepy things around you, it just depends on how your mind works, right? Half
Right.
the people automatically go to aliens, half the people go to, like, demons, half the people think elementals, like, it just depends.
Is it possible for you to wake up and have a bunch of elementals checking you out?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. Do they ever have nefarious reasons for checking you out?
Pardon?
Do they ever have nefarious reasons for checking you out?
Yeah, because you probably did something that pissed them off.
Oh, I see. Wow.
You can seriously, you can make them mad so easily. Like you could go and step on a mushroom and not even know that it made one of them mad, and then they're gonna come back and they're gonna make your life hell. Like, yeah, most people like lose jobs and so, and they don't even realize that it was just because of something so small that they did.
Well, what are some of those things that we can do that we should watch out for and be more mindful of that will make them mad?
Where you're putting your garbage, how you're speaking to your children, how you're speaking to other people, how you're treating the earth, how you're working on yourself. They will not like somebody that's just sitting there, oh, please come and help me, but yet I'm not going to do nothing. Like, you have to do your shadow work. Otherwise, they will play with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because in your aura, you can see everywhere where a person is like weak and stuff, and they're going to play on that. Plus, they can get into your brains and stuff too and hear your thought. Like, they're going to know where they can push your buttons, and, and they will.
Now, when you say shadow work, what do you mean by that?
Healing yourself.
Okay.
Heal yourself of all your past issues.
Gotcha.
Be okay with it. And
And
you
so,
should do that before you even try doing anything. You have to do your shadow work first, because without that,
and what happens when
you'll
you've
fuck
done your
everything.
shadow work? How does that change your life when you have done your shadow work?
Then nothing can trick you. You see everything how it is.
Yep, that's my story too. I don't call it shadow work, but that's exactly what I'm doing with people every day. That's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So kind of wrapping it up, what would you say that most people's attitude towards the elemental should be?
Respectful.
Okay. So even if you don't believe in them, really just kind of try to
Still,
be respectful.
yeah, still respect their earth.
Gotcha. And if you do want to work with them, just start asking them.
Yep. Yep.
Now, if someone wanted to make a fairy garden, what would that look like?
Shoot, my fairy garden's downstairs. It's not. I used like a stump. From a stump, I cut a piece, and then I cut more and like made little houses and stuff. I can take a picture. I can ask, and I can take a picture and see.
So is it like making a little terrarium or something?
Yeah, basically, kinda. Yeah.
Or
You
is it
can
more
look
like an altar to the
it's more like you show it as much respect as you would an altar.
Okay.
That's what it is essentially. It is an altar, just more for them because you're gonna stick plants and stuff like.
Gotcha. Deborah Hickman says, be careful about inviting them into your space. You may be overcome by them. How do you react to that?
Yeah, that's true. It's true. You gotta, before you make them a space in your home, you gotta make sure that they actually want to work with you. Because if you just make a spot and don't have it intended for a specific like fairy, then anything will just come because you're just setting up an altar with no intention, and that's just creating like a gateway for anything to come.
Right, right.
I also wouldn't stick a fairy garden in a child's bedroom because throughout the night they'll keep them awake.
Yeah. Now somebody asked me what is a fairy ring. Now from a strictly horticultural answer, a fairy ring happens when something organic is buried under some sod and all the organic material releases and it makes a ring.
Yeah.
And mushrooms will grow in it. Do you think there's actually also spiritual fairy rings, Ashley?
Yeah, I do. But it's on a different because I've walked through like the circles of one. They grow all over like the kids' parks and stuff. I think it's more like if they're there at that time and you walk through, then yeah, you can be trapped there with them as well.
Yeah, because most of the time, like at the park or something, it just means when they constructed the park, there's some 2x4s or trash wood under there, and that's putting off the chemicals that are making that ring and growing those mushrooms. But are there any fairies in the desert?
Probably. I would assume they'd be everywhere. The desert's part of the earth.
Desert fairies. That would be kind of interesting. Wow.
Maybe fire fairies. Maybe because it's really hot, right? So
fire fairies, yeah.
maybe.
Wow. This is very, very interesting. And I mean, we could talk about this all day. Somebody's asked me twice to ask you about Necronomicon. Do you know what that is?
I've heard the name. I don't know. I tell them to elaborate, and maybe I can like. Are they talking like necromancy?
It sounds like it.
Because I know, yeah, about that shit. And basically, necromancy is just talking to anything that was once alive on this earth and is not anymore.
Yep. What do you think about gnomes?
Gnomes are like earth spirits.
Okay, just another name.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Wow. Ashley, great stuff. Thanks for coming on and rambling with us about this. Now, if someone's talking about wanting to make a fairy garden, they should make sure they have a very strong intention for a very specific purpose, right?
Yes.
And don't do it in a kid's room.
No. But you should always do everything that you do with intention anyways.
Gotcha. Ashley, what is your channel?
Ashley from the Stars.
Ashley from the Stars is Ashley's channel. Here's an interesting question. Do the fairies have anything to do with the psychedelic mushrooms?
those just grow.
Those just
No, they
grow.
don't, like, I don't think they have
So not
anything.
not anything with the fairies. Okay. It was an interesting question anyway.
Yeah, it could. I don't know. I don't know really, but it could.
Very, very interesting. So I was looking over here reading because for some reason the Macintosh did not want to work on this today, but we got the old standard handy IBM that helped us out. So excellent. Very interesting stuff, Ashley. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And I think a lot of people got a lot of information. I think a lot of people want to get more information. So if you want to go and hear more about this type of stuff, go on Ashley from the Stars YouTube channel. Do you have a website or anything?
That's just for like my clothes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what is your website for your clothes?
www.silvericing.com/inferno with an I, not an E.
Okay, so that's for you have a clothing line.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, Ashley, thanks a ton for being here with us on this show. Thanks for those of you for tuning in. And if you have any other questions about, is the Fae a right word to use?
I really would just not call them anything.
Okay. So if you have any questions to ask about this subject, you can go on Ashley from the Stars, and she will be able to answer those for you. Thanks for being with us today. I'll be back at least at 5 o'clock, probably more and before that. And we're looking forward to having you back again. Check out the show I had yesterday with Dr. Tammy Balashevsky.
Oh, I did watch some of it. I was watching it in the morning too.
It was an interesting show, wasn't it?
It was good, yeah.
Interesting lady. Very, very cool. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and end the show now. Ashley, sit right there for 1 second.
Okay.
I want to say goodbye to you. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, saluting you that are here for truth. Sorry for the odd angle, but for Ashley from the Stars, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty saying, see y'all later.